Hello and welcome to the Friday, December 2nd, 2022 edition of the Contributor Comms meeting. As a reminder, we do operate under a code of conduct, which basically says to be respectful of your fellow speakers and participants and generally be excellent to each other. So I guess we'll dive right into it today. I see that we've got a number of new folks, I think, maybe on, at least one of them disappeared. But for anyone new joining us, we are the Contributor Comms subproject of the Special Interest Group for Contributor Experience, which means that our primary job is to make sure that contributors within the Kubernetes community understand what's going on. For example, if there are any important community meetings or important changes going on in the project that everybody needs to know about, we help to make sure that everybody knows about that. And also externally, we try to help make sure that folks external to the project know about the awesome work that contributors are doing. And usually at the beginning of the meeting, we like to offer an opportunity for anyone who's new to introduce themselves. So if you are new, you are welcome to unmute or type in the chat to say hello. We would love to hear from you and hear what you're interested in.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Hello, yes.
Hi. My name is Mark Arons. I'm pretty new to the cloud native community. I've been doing AWS and Azure for 8 years now, and have been spent like the last 6 years as a consultant. So kind of helping people migrate out of their data centers and onto the cloud. And so after working with that many people, I'm kind of seeing the need for, really seeing the need for cloud native infrastructure and Kubernetes and all the cloud native open source projects, and love to see what you guys are doing. And yeah, I'm like finally understanding, coming around to like all of that. So I'm just trying to get in touch with everything, trying to contribute to some more open source projects, and yeah, just trying to see where I can help out and learn.
Awesome. Welcome. We're excited to have you.
Thanks.
Since we're a communications focused group, we don't do a lot of coding work. We have a few projects where we do some stuff on the technical side, but I like to think that we are a relatively easy group to get involved with as a first group, because a lot of our work is non-code. So writing blog posts and tweets and things like that are pretty easy early wins when you're not as familiar with GitHub processes or the processes of the project or things like that. So I hope you'll find us a good place to start.
Yeah, I feel like having a pulse on what's happening and where is a good place to start. So I'm excited.
True. We also have a very broad view.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You guys know what's going on. So I figured this was a good place to start.
Theoretically.
Hopefully you can change that.
Ongoing, always a process. Awesome. Would anyone else like to say hello? I think everyone else has been on before, but you're welcome to reintroduce yourself if you want to, too. I think we're good. Alrighty, always welcome to hop in. So let's get started with our agenda. So I sent the notes doc in the chat. We are below the table. So below the table is where we have like the daily notes, and then the table is where we track our active action items. So we'll go through updates, big wins, and new items, and then we'll go through our campaigns in progress by going through the table. So first off, updates, big wins. Avinash.
Yep. So the PR for the comms event lead role was merged last week.
Yay.
However, I'm still confused about how the labels work, because we have had the discussion in Slack also. They've pointed us out that okay, the approvers were correct. However, the bot mentioned all of us.
It has both in the same message.
Yeah, so that's
Just interesting.
pretty much confusing. I'm dropping up the link over here for the PR so that everyone can see that. So, and apart from that, I also found few PRs where I was again confused why there was this approved label and already given by the bot, and there's no one the bot has not mentioned why who has given the label before, and then later on after getting an LGTM it says there were 3 folks who introduced this label to the PR, but maybe I'm considering it in a wrong way, but I'm a bit confused with the labels particularly.
We all are. Such is life. Let's take a look at these.
So just a question, what's the issue actually? So we have labels and what not something working properly, or
I think it's more of an understanding because I think this worked properly. It just was weird. So in the one to merge the comms events role, it says that this PR is approved by Avinash, Chris, Josh, and myself. And Avinash is not an approver in this repo, so that shouldn't really matter. So it's weird that it says that, but my theory that I proposed is that it says that because Avinash created the commit. So we did mention that in the ContribEx comms channel in Slack. And Josh said, if you're an owner, stuff gets auto-approved if you created the PR, basically. So it only needs an LGTM to merge, but this is weird because Avinash isn't actually an approver, so.
But did Avinash use /approve at any point?
Not sure.
I don't think I used this for this PR particularly.
No, I don't see it there.
There's a retest. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he ran a retest, but he didn't run
Yeah,
a proof.
okay.
So it must be from him creating the PR. Yeah.
Maybe the wordings are not a bit confusing to us.
So it worked properly. It's just that it's kind of weird. We've been talking about labels lately because we need to update our owners files, basically. So we need to update who the approvers are for our repos that we normally work in. And so we're paying more attention, I think, right now to who actually does have the ability to approve things and where. Thus, we noticed this kind of weird thing.
Also to add, I remember from the previous meet, I think Caslin or Chris, maybe one of them had this thing where they were not an owner and still they were able to approve or give labels or something like that.
Well, I think that we ended up deciding the issue for that because I tried to approve this one and I wasn't able to add the approve label, and we determined that that was because it was because of the rename issue, because this was created before we renamed our repo. And so it didn't actually point to the right repo. So the owner's file did not apply to it properly. So we were not able to approve it. So I don't think it's an issue. It was just, we missed that. So then we ended up fixing that and the whole thing got approved and added in properly. But it being approved by you when you're not an approver is still a weird message. I'm gonna put a ping in our thread in the ContribEx comms channel about that, because we have some of the folks who like actually understand that stuff in there, which I do not. I don't think anybody else here does. Approve. All right, so we'll try to get more clarity on that. But as far as things actually working and happening, it seems like things are happening properly. But it would be helpful for us to get a little bit more understanding about how labels and owners work, just generally. It's a good idea. But also, yay for the comms event lead role being merged. I think you are updated on our main repo as the events lead. Is that right? I should probably check on that.
Yep, I was.
Okay, lovely. It's going to take too many clicks for me to find that, so I'm not going to do that right now. But yay. Actually, maybe I should, because nobody was on last time that we did that. So I'm going to do all the clicks. So in the Kubernetes community repo, in the communication folder, in the contributor comms folder of that is where our main subproject info is. So I updated this to better represent the way that we're structured now. The last several months, the last like year, we've been working together to determine roles for our group. So this should now be updated. We have 2 subproject leads, also an announcement from the last meeting that most folks weren't at. Chris is coming back on as a full-time subproject lead. He's been around, even though he said that he was going to try to do less, but he wasn't really doing less anyway. So he was basically already a subproject lead. But now he says specifically that he wants to be doing the subproject lead role. So he's going to be doing that along with me. I'm basically acting as social media coordinator, I guess. I think that makes sense. And we have Imran as our tech lead, Avinash as our event lead, Federico as our blogs lead and coordinator. And we also have a storyteller role that we've had since the beginning of this group, where basically it's a role saying that you help us out with all of the communications that we do. And then we have a couple of emeritus members. So if you are interested in any of these roles and you want to be a shadow, you're welcome to put in a PR, putting yourself into the notes as a shadow. And if you're new and want to become a regular member of our group, helping with storytelling and such, you're also welcome to put in a PR to add yourself as a storyteller. So that's a brief overview of that. I guess I should add that as an update big win. Any questions about our new roles?
Once we do the PR to like say like I wanted to be a storyteller, what happens after that? Like, is there another SIG group I should be paying attention to or anything like that?
Yeah, so the main thing will be to continue getting involved with our group. So that means either attending these meetings or we do have our own Slack channel within the Kubernetes Slack. Let me grab the link for that. How do I grab a link for a channel? Copy link. Yes, there we go. So I'll put the link in the chat. So it is the SIG ContribEx comms. I'll also type that channel. So that's how we do our asynchronous communication. We have our weekly meetings here. So if you add yourself as a storyteller, just watch out for opportunities to help and pick up a couple of small tasks as they come up. We usually have tasks like writing out tweets or contributing to blog post stuff or things like that, where you can get involved early on. We'll go through some of that as we go through the table. Does that sound like a plan?
Perfect. Thank you.
Cool. Can one make a PR for more than one shadow role? I have no issue with folks taking on more than one shadow role if they want to. Up to you. Another way to do it would be to message in the ContribEx comms group and say that you want to do those things. But personally, I think it's a good idea to just go ahead and make the PR. The relevant folks should hopefully be notified by creating that PR, and we can also tag them directly in the request. And so then it's kind of more formalized and folks know that they need to do something to help their shadows understand the role and what they need to learn. There's also information, by the way, in our role handbooks. For folks who aren't familiar with it, this is where the definitions of all of our roles are. We still need to make one for the sub-project lead. Yeah, me and Chris need to do that. But if you're interested in any particular role, you can come here, and you can also see some information about what you can expect being a shadow.
I think the sub-project lead and owner are same thing, or we have a talk somewhere, the sub-project owner, is that both are same, or?
Sub-project owner, do you mean like an old?
Yeah,
Oh.
somewhere, maybe in the ContribEx, I've seen somewhere the documentation regarding sub-project owner. Maybe it's in the.
Yeah. So we
I
did
think
find that last time, I think. It is kind of more of a generic thing,
okay.
I think. We need to create a specific definition for our sub-project. That was me and Chris's opinion anyway.
Got it.
But that's a good idea that I should note down, that we should link to that more generic role as well. Making myself a note on that before I forget. On role def. All right. Any other questions on roles or anything? We should also update the link in the docs as well as on the top. Did we miss a link? So we recently changed our name to Contributor Comms from Upstream Marketing. So if you see anywhere that says Upstream Marketing, that is a relatively easy place to contribute. You can make PRs to change anywhere that says Upstream Marketing to Contributor Comms. And I will add your point. All right, we'll come back into the doc here. Frederico, do you want to go over the point that I put in for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So there was a delay in the Kubernetes 126 release because of Golang security issues or updates. So it's a 2-day delay. And what we did, well, in this case, as a part of the release team, but obviously this is one of the things that we also do because of our access to the Kubernetes contributors tweet account, was to quickly create a tweet about the delay and broadcast it. So that's the topic.
Good for everyone to know. It's always awesome when we have someone from our group who is part of the comms team for the release. So thank you very much, Frederico, for keeping us updated on what's going on.
My pleasure. And thank you very much for the prompt help that you gave with the approval.
Of course. Thank you for also doing that, like being on top of like making a tweet and asking us to approve it, because it's been a while since we've had tweets since KubeCon happened, and then there's always the lull after KubeCon. So it was really nice that you pinged us
as well. The automation, as we were replaced by robots, right?
Oh, thank goodness. So much better. For context for new folks, we have a tool called Buffer that we use we run the @Kate's Contributors. That is the title of it. The Kate's Contributors account on Twitter. And we have a tool called Buffer that we use to draft tweets and put them through an approval process and stuff. We also actually have an approval process in GitHub, but it's kind of wonky. So we mostly try to use Buffer But we can discuss that more via Slack if you want to hear more about it. So I'll move on from that unless anyone has any questions about the release. Gone. You can always ask later. So Mofi, would you talk about your item here?
Yeah, I think so. For SIG spotlights, as of now, it's kind of confusing what spotlights already exist. So Kathleen and I talked, and I made a PR to have a new file in the communications folder that has a list of all the spotlights as like a table. So you can see all the existing spotlights, who made them, and when is the last time they were updated. And as we add new spotlights, hopefully we'll update this doc. And it also gets linked from the SIG Spotlight blog process. So if you open the blog process, at the bottom, you will see the past spotlights. You can just go there and see all the existing ones. And so ideally, this is supposed to add, as we add more, we can update this and also look at, okay, the SIG Windows, I'm picking on you, Kathleen, was updated in 2020. So it might be time to go back and revisit this. So the goal is to have all the past spotlights. If you have more for one, we'll update the same row with the multiple ones, so you can see the progress on how it changed. Yeah, and it'll also make probably easier for folks to pick new ones that are not here.
Yay, thank you, Mofi. And for context, again, for new folks, this is one of the items that's always a good first issue. For folks who are joining our group, you're welcome to pick up a SIG Spotlight. So these are blog posts where you interview the chairs of a SIG, and you basically take that interview and turn it into a blog post that you share with everyone. You try to highlight what the SIG is and what help they need, what cool projects they're working on, that kind of stuff. So there are resources about how to do that here in the storytelling resources folder. And you can also reach out to us in the ContribEx comms channel, and we'll help you understand that task if you're interested in doing it. Thank you very much, Mofi. So that's all we have right now for updates, big wins. Anyone else want to add anything that they've noticed that's gone on lately since KubeCon?
I have a question for the SIG spotlight. For example, I'm doing an ongoing instrumentation spotlight. Do we share the, like, for example, the interview happens like async between me and the chairs? So because I shared my personal G drive, of course, I can edit it and finally I make a markdown and so on. I feel like some content might be lost. So can we use the shared drive to save the content like Google Doc? I mean,
that's a good question. I have also done this in the past using a personal drive. I still need to figure out how to move our KubeCon tweet planning into the right drive, which there is some information about that here.
Maybe you can add that, because Chris created a G drive. Is it that's the one, right? I mean, I can also use, because I think
it's this one here.
Yeah.
That is the purpose of it. So that sounds like a good plan to me if you want to use it. The link to it is here in this action item about moving the KubeCon tweets.
Fine.
I'll put it in our notes as well.
Yeah.
Does that sound good?
Hey, Kathleen, am I still the owner of that document? And if I change owner, then you can probably move it, or I can move it. I need to look at that, huh? Instead of just sitting or listening and looking at puppy pictures.
Understandable.
Let's see.
This sounds like a project of its own. Maybe I should put this as a new item, actually. Let's move things to Contrib Comms Drive. All right. So that information is now in the new item section of our notes from today. So hopefully that'll be helpful. I was thinking of the Excel spreadsheet for tweets that I
that one
was using, which I need to move. But if you want to move yours as well, which was like a comms plan for KubeCon, for the contributor summit, really. We can move it to here for now. There might be another contributor summit one that we want to move it to eventually, but at least this way it won't be sitting in your drive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. I will move it over here.
Perfect.
And everybody has it forever.
That's the idea. So all of you, if you have any docs that you feel like that belongs in the contributor comms drive, here it is. I guess we'll figure out how to do that. Moving things in Google Drive is really annoying in my experience, says someone who works at Google. So hopefully we'll all be able to figure that out. Any other updates, big wins, or new items? All right, then it sounds like it's time to move into the table. We'll start off with something that I know I didn't do what I was supposed to do. Skipping Hina's items once again. Oh, wait, is Hina on? I don't think Hina's on. No, Hina's not on. This is related to needing to update the
Man, update so strong, Kathleen got muted.
Net issue.
aware
Yeah.
of issues and PRs that we should be aware of.
So Kathleen, you it blanked out for a second there in the middle.
Oh,
So you said update B, and then we didn't hear anything after.
I don't know what I said, but basically we can skip this first one because Hina's not on and Atarva's not on. But this is some ongoing work to make sure that we know when PRs or issues are created that we need to know about. So we created a team for our group within GitHub, which we need to update again. And we're also still working on some automation to make sure that we're actually notified. So we added, just gonna explain this whole thing. I do this every time. Basically, we added our team in the template for creating an issue. So when an issue is created, if they don't mess with the template too much, then we should be notified because we are tagged in it. But if they remove that, then we probably won't get notified. And also if someone just directly makes a PR without making an issue, then we don't have a specific way to make sure that we're notified. There's a label for our group. So once again, an area where we need to understand more about labels, how we can make sure that that label getting added actually means that we know that the thing is happening. Anyway, but we were looking into ways to like automatically add a comment tagging us when the label is applied or something, just to make sure that we have that base covered. So Hina and Atarva, we're going to try to work on that. If that sounds interesting to you, you are welcome to mention it in the ContribEx comms channel, and we can see if we can get that work going again.
Yaslin, I had a question to this.
Yeah.
How does other groups, subgroups, SIG and sub-SIG members handle these situations? Because we are thinking about our group. I think, shouldn't this be a general thing?
That is definitely true. That is a good question. How do other groups do this? We have several folks from like SIG ContribEx leadership and stuff in our channel. So it might be a good idea to just ask that question in our Slack channel and see if anyone knows anything. How do other groups, how do we want to phrase it? How do other groups make sure they're notified of PRs and issues? I'm going to put that in our Slack channel right now. There's one thing that I've learned from running these meetings. It's that I don't do things after it. And also, hello, Mark. Welcome to our group. Wave emoji. There we go. Yep. Waved. Question from our meeting. We made ourselves a team. But are still wondering how best to make sure that we are notified of issues and PRs we should know about. We do have a label. Okay, I have posted that question in our Slack channel, so hopefully we'll make some progress on that maybe. Thank you, Avinash, for posing that question. All right, so I'll move on from that. Didn't actually skip it at all. Next item is that I need to move our KubeCon tweets. So every KubeCon, we try to set up a bunch of tweets that'll go out during the conference, mainly promoting the maintainer track and like keynotes and other contributor focused things that are going on at the conference. So I've been hosting that just in my own Google Drive, and I need to move it to our group Google Drive now. I highlighted my items pink last time because I did that the time before that and it was really helpful. So they're still pink. FYI, new change to the table. Do what you have to get your work done. Next item, Federico, this thing that has been around since KubeCon EU this year. You have
It's
this PR.
The thing.
Yeah.
But now it's not on my hands because I from the comment that I last saw, you said that you essentially gave yourself homework from what I remember.
And
You
then
said-
didn't do it.
So we should definitely have a review in this and well. So but honestly, that's not really, even if you go into it today, for example, I still need to get the inputs from the rest of the people that were there. Berkus specifically that had the initial feedback. I do think that I have more or less exhausted the. So I think I have addressed all the points that were raised, and there is an initial good feedback there as well. And on top of that, I also added examples. And actually, this is interesting. I've been using this more and more as of late because this comes really helpful when we start working a lot with PRs in a processual way, not in a code way. Not actually needing to have the repo in your hard drive and using Git becomes much more valuable than even though one knows how to use it. It's much better just to use the tools. So this actually helped me. So in short, for my side, I've pinged Berkus to get his feedback there. You and Chris, I think, need to have LGTM it to see if my changes make sense. And after that, we're good to go. We just need the approval. Or change thing, but I don't have the indication that there's something to be changed at the moment.
Yeah, it's probably good to go at this point. We had the best intentions last week to do this, and well, 2 weeks ago, and then holidays and everything. So we ended up not doing it, but I have re-pinged us. So that is top of my list now. Thank you, Federico, for doing that. Some context for folks. This is a blog post, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. This is a blog post for the Kate's Dev blog that goes over how to use Prow and Tide for all of your contribution work. So some useful tips there.
And
I should
for
definitely read it
folks-
myself.
Yeah, and for folks that don't know what Prow and Tide actually are, which I didn't before I started to use this, they are essentially the things that underpin the automation mechanism that we use in Kubernetes PRs, for example. So that in the comments, we can assign people retitle, approve, etc. Not by using directly the buttons in the GitHub interface, but by adding in the comments. And they also come with a sort of toolbox of nice stuff to deal with common needs, like let's squash all commit messages that were done during this review process and just keep the first one, because obviously if we want to integrate this into master, we don't need to keep track of the 30 commits that were made because a comma was lacking or because that word was not appropriate. So it's actually a good read, and I hope to see it published. It's 90% of it is Chris, obviously. I just made some additions there.
Thank you, Federico.
Thank you.
I really appreciate that you've shepherded this through, especially for so long. So I have re-pinged Chris and myself on that, and actually I'm going to ping him on Slack right now to keep myself accountable.
If it's in pink, it's as good as done.
Right? That's how this works. Ping you just so I don't forget. All right. He's not even online right now. Hopefully it doesn't bother him. All right, let's move on. We've got 20 minutes left, less than that. Update the owner's file. We mentioned this already. Our group has grown this year, and it's been really wonderful. We've had a lot of folks take on more responsibility. We've defined roles together. We have a pretty strong group going on, and I love it. But it also means that we need to update our owner's file. So that defines like who is an approver, is my understanding of it currently. I'm still learning about owner's files myself. But kind of update all of our leads in an official file within GitHub that gives people powers to do things. And we also need to update our GitHub team. I need a link here to do this. I think there's actually a link here somewhere. Teams.yaml. I think it's this. Yes. So if folks are interested in what our team actually looks like, where that file is, it's there. If you want to help me get that done, honestly, we'd appreciate the help, but we need to work together because we need to decide who all needs to go on that group. So I kind of know who usually attends these meetings since I usually run them. So that's why it's on my plate. Agnes, you're also on here for some reason. I guess you were going to try to help me do that. If you want to do that, ping me. If you ping me, it's as good as done, I hear. So
I'll do it right away.
thanks.
Can confirm.
Thank you, Muffy. Muffy's on my team at work, so he knows. All right, let's move on past that. Slackbot still having issues. Imran, have you looked into this anymore lately?
Yes.
Any updates?
I created a PR to add myself into the team. So actually there was some issue to add into the user group. I added you. So unfortunately I added Chris last week last week. So either of you should approve it, so that probably Slack admin, one of the Slack admin might approve it. So here's the PR link for this one. So once it's approved, I'll be in part of the user group. Actually, Chris already created a PR, but it failed due to the my name and the Slack ID has to be added. So otherwise it won't work. So it failed, but then I had a look and I fixed it. So now it needs approval. Then so then
Thank
I
you.
can start.
Thank you for the reminder. Since last week was Thanksgiving, I think a lot of things kind of got dropped. Good call. This looks good to me. You're updating the user group file and the users file. So I am going to go ahead and LGTM and try to approve that. I don't think I have access to actually approve this. But we could find out. This has been a going theme lately. So we try to approve things and just see what happens. I'm also in the shadowing program for the ContribEx chairs. So if I don't have access to approve this, I might at some point. So it's a good thing for me to test and see how this works. All right, so I have LGTM'd and approved that. If we check back on that in a few minutes, we'll see what happened. LGTM label was added, but I'm assuming the approve will not work. I don't see it getting added, so. Yeah, not approved.
Yeah. Trial by fire. Love to see it.
That is what I expected.
I think probably the Slack admins need to, or maybe the owners for this one.
Yeah, owners, approvers. There's a lot of approvers here. You could get Bob or Gphy.
I think Gphy is part of he's assigned as review. I'll ping both. I think Bob is also probably the reviewer, so I'll add either of them. So
Code Ranger is also very active. A lot of these other names I don't know, or well, Ihar I know, but he would not be able to do this. So Code Ranger, Bob, Castro would be good. Castro Hall and Gphy. All very active folks who might be able to help.
okay, I'll do it. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Cool. So we'll work on that. Next item, update the repo with role descriptions. We have done that. Wow. So we currently have a social media coordinator role, events coordinator role, tech lead role, and blogging lead role. We need to create a sub-project lead who will have responsibilities relating to approver status on GitHub at kind of a broad level among the repos that we normally work with in this sub-project. It'll include meeting leader responsibilities as well. And Chris and I will kind of discuss and see what else goes into it. He has a doc already on some of the administrative responsibilities. We just need to turn that into a sub-project lead document. Yeah, there's also a project manager concept in here. If there's ever something that you want to do in the group and you don't see a role for it, let us know. We can make a new role for you. I think Kim, you had been interested in like a project manager type role or something. So if you want to work that out, we can discuss.
Yeah, I think we were talking about that for like trying to keep blog content, keep consistent blog content. I think that's what we talked about at KubeCon. So I just haven't taken the next step actions, but I will.
Yeah, you had a slightly different perspective and ideas for projects on it compared to what Federico is doing as the current blogging lead. But maybe that's something where you all could be co-leads and do slightly different things or something. So
okay,
you might want to look at the blogging lead role and see what you want to do that's different or how it compares to that.
perfect. I will look at that and connect with you, Federico.
Absolutely.
Teamwork. It's also a lot of work as the blogging lead, and Federico has been doing an amazing job of it. So probably good to have more help there. All right, moving on. Contributor site. Imran, this basically turned into working on the new contributor workshop materials, it sounded like. Any updates?
Yeah, so there has been updates. So there has been a PR. Maybe I can also lift that one. So it's been created by them. So I didn't create this PR, but this PR solves the issue which I had commented in the Google Doc. So it has at least, so let me find what's this one. So, yeah. So I can link it here. So this is the PR, and this is the new e-learning module which I can link to the group. So I'm actually reviewing it to see if it solves it. It kind of go through all the process. I took the role to review and make sure the content is relevant to the requested issue. So
Cool. Let me add these. So
the
we've got the
QPR
issue.
yeah.
We have a PR. And we have a preview.
Yeah.
Such resources. All right, so what is this new PR adding in? Oh, beautiful. Wow, this is actually getting done. We've been trying to do this since like 2020. You haven't caught the theme yet. A lot of things in open source are slow, but this is really exciting to see. Do you need any help with these at the moment?
No, not really. So I think it's the PR is on hold because of bomb. For some reason, it's been hold for before KubeCon, I guess, or close to KubeCon, and it's still, yeah, I don't know what's the status. I'm looking at it and I just want to provide my feedback if anything is there. So I'll try to provide the feedback and make sure what's going on there.
I will ping them now.
Yeah, sure. That's good.
Yeah.
We're starting the thread. That's good.
Yeah. I've started doing that as we go through the table, and it's been pretty good. Since most of Kubernetes contribution is done by volunteers, it's pretty common for things to kind of get dropped along the way. So
I think I shared last time it was planned for KubeCon, but it got delayed due to KubeCon, and I don't know. It's been, I think, after maybe break and holidays, maybe it didn't go through.
Yep. Probably has to do with all of that, but they probably need to get that in before KubeCon EU. So it'll be good to restart that. I would not be surprised if it takes until after the holidays to actually get it moving though. But it seems like it's mostly there, so maybe they can just go in and do it. We'll see. All right. So that's all on that. Moving on. Sounds like a plan. Update GitHub repo to contributor comms name as part of the rename. Ray had a PR. Oh yeah, I was looking at this last time and I was like, I don't see a link to the PR and I don't know which PR it was. So I'm going to assume that that was done. And we did find one place in our repo after I made the changes to add that new, well, table was already there, but the new role table, well, updates to the role table. There was still a place where it had upstream marketing. So Chris fixed that in our last meeting. So if you see something, say something. If you see upstream marketing somewhere on some repo that we work with, please do make a PR and change it to contributor comms. All right, let's move on past that to SIG spotlights. So Imran, you mentioned that you're actively working on one. Federico, you have a couple that you've been working on, and Arpit had one I'm just gonna work on.
Yeah, maybe I can update. So I had, yeah, so mostly it's done, I would say, except one question. I'm just waiting for SIG instrumentation to give some feedback on it. And hopefully by next week or something, I'll create a PR for it. So mostly it touched on the major subjects. So I'm just waiting for few extra feedback, which we have, and folks are active in it. So I think it's good candidate for a PR, probably starting next week, I assume.
Awesome. Moving along on that. These tend to take a while as well because they involve coordination with SIG chairs, especially around release time, which release is coming up.
Yeah.
So, but maybe it's late enough in the release that
I exactly spoke after the code freeze, so they got kind of
smart
some to answer
so
these.
You have your doc with all of your questions already, and you're waiting for them to respond to the questions, right? Yeah. Waiting on response from instrumentation. I feel like I should specify that it's not like okay, we'll do that response, but a response to questions, but I don't know how to word that right now, so this is fine. Awesome. Thank you, Imran, for making progress on one of these. Always good to see SIG spotlights moving along. Federico, do you want to update on yours?
Yeah, so They are essentially stopped. I did get some feedback on the question. So SIG architecture already had the questions there, and I already had some answers. I got something out of it after code freeze, but since then I don't get any reply, even from the direct Slacks, etc. So
Yeah.
I guess it's only worth insisting once again after the release, probably. The problem here is that there's always something, right?
Yeah.
Because there's only a few days that there's nothing happening, or at least because in the beginning of a release it's complex. Then you get to the crossflix, it's also complex. Then perhaps near the release date it's easier for some teams, but right now, since I'm on the comms team, it's complex for me. So, but anyway, it's architecture is stopped at the questions on their sides. SIG security, the second share that had replied to me, I insisted again, still no answer. So, I mean, there's only so much that I can insist without it being useless, right? So I'm essentially doing a once per week. Hey, maybe we can do it, etc. But I have no answers. I do have one thing though, because due to this lack of advancing, I went to the Kubernetes calendar to see what was going on, and I remember that different SIGs also have, like we are a specific sub project within ContribEx, right? Other SIGs also have specific sub projects there.
Yeah.
And I remember that I sometimes attend a specific one, which is the KEP. I don't know if you say KEP or CAP.
CAP.
CAP. Okay, perfect. Yeah, I also say CAP, but without hearing others, just reading, I'm never sure. So the CAP reading club, which is a SIG architecture sub project.
Oh, nice.
And I think that this falls within our context. It's not exactly a SIG spotlight, because it's not just about the SIG, but it is about a contributor-driven regular activity within a SIG. In this case, SIG architecture. And I contacted the responsible for it, and he was very open to participate. Obviously, in these cases, I even think that there's more openness because it tends to be more of a work of passion, creating this kind of events. So he said it was open, and I could just start writing some questions, which I did. But first, I wanted to cross-check this with you and others here, because I'm making a list of not SIGs, because and that list in the beginning with all the SIG spotlights one, it's a great step in this, because maybe I can add not only and it can be separated from the SIG spotlight, but
Yeah,
there are
project
other
spotlights.
Yeah, exactly. So something like I think it falls within the same spirit of us
Absolutely,
helping
yeah.
stuff getting more visibility. And I think it's useful because some of these are actually quite interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm making a list of them, and I can add them, and this will also help others that want to start in blogging and helping, because they have one more thing to pick from, not only the SIGs but also the activities of the sub projects.
Perfect. You are the blogging lead. If you want to start a project, you have the power. And I think it's a great idea.
Perfect. Yeah, that's great. No, yeah, because it could be like, well, maybe it's not, but yeah, I do think it falls right within what we as ContribEx comms want to do. So I'll go into this. I haven't given up on the others, but this is something that I'm opening the discussion with everyone else doing a SIG spotlight. It reached a point where the only thing that you can do is ask and ask and ask, but after a while you have to give it some time before going back to the trenches, because otherwise I think the humans just snooze things. And so
Yeah.
I'm giving it 1 month and starting from scratch.
And we are at time. Arpit, thank you for adding your update in the chat as well. Currently in progress understanding the SIG and trying to figure out what kind of questions to ask. If you need any help with that, do reach out. Did you want to speak up and say anything else about the work that you're doing? Currently referring to the official documentation and previous SIG Spotlight blogs. Are there any other resources or suggestions? If you look in the storytelling repo section of our repo, oh gosh, I've lost it. But if you go into the storytelling resources where we have the, oh gosh, that's probably became of it. But where we have the old ones, yeah, there you go. Thank you. Thank you, Imran. So here in the storytelling resources, we do have examples. We have the blog Spotlight blog process. So if you need a refresher on how the process works, you can find that there. And example interview questions and example topics to ask about are right here. So check those out. Ping if you need any help. And in the Slack channel, I wrote a summary, which I should really add to the resources. Yes, please do, Frederico. And we are a minute over, so I'll go ahead and let us go. One thing that I didn't get to here that I wanted to talk about in these was, Kim, some of the things that we discussed at KubeCon, but maybe, I guess you should chat with Frederico and we can talk about that next time. Sound good?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining today. We didn't get through everything in the table, but a lot of these other ones I think are kind of on hold or something at the moment. If we didn't get to anything that you want to talk about, please post it in the Slack. Also have a look at YouTube for specific SIG deep dive sessions. Yeah, that's a good idea as well. You can also always learn by doing. By interviewing the SIG chairs, you'll learn a lot. All right. Thanks everyone for joining today. And
Bye.
I'm going to stop our
Cheers,
recording.
bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Everyone.